All right, welcome to the All American Hoots podcast, episode 20. As per usual, I'm joined by my younger brother, Matt Driscoll.
Chris, always a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And my older brother, John Driscoll.
Hey, H, thanks for having us on episode 20. All right.
No, I was going to say, because it's funny, because in like a couple ways, it feels like that we've done more than 20, but also it feels like, oh, wow, we're already at 20. So, yeah, it's like one of those things like time flies by when you're having fun, but also we've been doing a lot of these. So that's a pretty cool thing to see. Now, before we jump into anything, there's a couple things I want to address. First of all, I already showed John this, but look at how cool this new basketball that I just bought. I just wanted to treat myself. It's a new Jordan ball. It's very, very cool. Yeah, we needed one around the house, so I'm very happy with it.
Indoor, outdoor.
What was that?
Indoor, outdoor.
Indoor, outdoor. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Very, very excited with it. The next thing I wanted to say was I didn't realize that I did this until Dad pointed out to me the other day. Did you guys realize that every single podcast I've been saying the wrong thing? I've been saying I'm welcomed by rather than joined by. So it seems like that either you guys or the other my guests have been the host. So up until today, I've been saying the wrong thing. So I'm very happy that that someone's waited until episode 19 to tell me. But
you know now.
Yeah. Better late than never, I guess. Cool. So as everyone knows, we are currently in the NBA playoffs. So obviously the best time of year, the best time to do a podcast is just to talk about shop, talk about the best teams in the league that are playing each other. Obviously, we're not really at the best teams in the league part yet, but we're just going to touch a little bit on each series. We're going to talk about each series. Then after that, we're going to talk about some of the players that we think are going to either pop off or just end up breaking out and really start to join some big lists. So cool. So we're going to start off by just going over teams that have already played their second game, simply because we wanted to talk about the teams that are going to play their second games tonight and tomorrow, and projecting that. So after a relatively slate of boring game ones, last night was absolutely ballistic. 2 out of the 3 games were awesome, and 2 of the best games that I've watched all year long. But we'll start off by talk about the later game, the Lakers versus the Nuggets. So as you guys know, the Lakers were up 21 at one point. I think it was at some point. It was either 19 or 21 at some point in the third quarter. And I even tweeted at around halftime. I said I really thought this was going to be a sweep. I picked the Nuggets in 5 eventually, but after game 1, I was like, okay, I really think the Nuggets are going to sweep. And it's still up in the air after because Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray and PJ really came through. So, Matt, do you have any takeaways from the game?
Yeah, from last night's game and game 1, obviously to get this out of the way, Jokic is the best player in the league by a massive, massive margin. I was talking about it with my roommates yesterday. I think he might be the second greatest player I've ever seen live behind LeBron James, prime-wise. Yeah, obviously, you can argue Steph Curry, you can argue Kevin Durant, but Jokic, I feel like he has like one bad game every 3 months. Like, he's unbelievable. He always steps up when it matters. And, the Nuggets are just a really, really scary team. They could be awful all game, and then when it matters in the clutch, they pull through. Jamal Murray shooting, I think, 37% for the playoffs this year. He's had a tough couple of games shooting the ball, but like I said, he came through when it mattered. I know we'll talk about it a little more later. Like, is there a world where the Lakers come back and win the series or even win a game or two? I don't really see it. I know, like, the series, you're not in trouble until you lose at home, but the way they lost last night, it's really, really tough to get over that. And I just think the Nuggets are a better team by a massive margin. And I think that the Lakers have to play a perfect game, and they have to catch the Nuggets on a bad night to beat them. So, yeah, I just think the Nuggets are a very, very scary team.
Yeah, I agree. I think what you're seeing is just the best player in the league on arguably at least the best team in the West, if not the best team in the league. I know we're Celtics fans, but until the Nuggets kind of get dethroned and beat this year, then they are the reigning champs. And you're seeing it with Jokic versus a top 3, arguably, defender in Anthony Davis. It's like he's not even there. It's like he's not even making an impact. Jokic isn't phased at all. the way he scores, the way he facilitates, everything just looks kind of easy. And it looks like he's playing the game at like a slower pace than everybody else. Nobody plays, or he doesn't play at anybody else's pace. Everyone else plays at his pace. And I know there are a lot of foul controversies late in the game. D'Angelo Russell did get fouled. I'll give him that. They went to the review. I mean, I think we've seen it a couple times this year where the NBA has this review policy in place, and then they somehow find a way to mess it up. But, I mean, I don't really think that caused the Lakers to lose that game. What caused them to lose that game was that they blew a 21-point lead. And while LeBron had a good game, missing a wide open three that puts the game on ice, wins them that game. I think it comes down to those plays, except instead of the refs. And overall, I think Lakers players, Lakers coaches, Lakers fans complaining about the refs is hilarious to me because they have had the refs in their back pocket since that that massive blown foul call in the regular season game against the Celtics last year that they can't stop talking about. But yeah, Matt, I agree with you. I think this series goes 4, if not 4, then 5. And like you said, I also like to say series doesn't start until somebody loses at home. But losing a game like that on the road is tough to overcome. And I think we'll discuss it more later, but I think you can relate that saying more towards the Knicks Sixers as well. But we'll touch on that later.
Yeah, so it's a disaster when LeBron went 26, 8, and 12. AD went 32 and 11 with a block and a steal each, and D'Lo went 23 points, 8 of 16 from the field, 7-11 from 3, and they still lost. Yes, obviously some things didn't go their way as well. Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura combined went 12 points, 5 for 18 from the field, 1 for 7 from 3. And only 6 points off the bench, all the Torian Prince. So no help from Spencer Dinwiddie, no help from Gabe Vincent or Jackson Hayes. Really, he didn't really play much. But your 3 best players had awesome games. D'Lo had his best game between this year and last year's playoffs, and they still lost. So I just don't see I don't see a world where the Lakers come back and win this series. We already saw LeBron and AD have fantastic games. I think LeBron can play better, which, by the way, I'll touch on this quickly. People who are calling out LeBron for taking that shot are just a bunch of idiots. Maybe you want to say that they should have drained the clock more, but I also think that the only argument against that was just because lost my train of thought. Yeah, the only argument against him taking that 3 was you want to drain the clock more, just because you never want to give Denver more time. But that being said, I don't think they were going to find a better shot than that. LeBron's 41% from 3 this year, and that's you got to trust your guy to go and take that shot.
Yeah, it's a make or miss league, and there's not many players in the league that you would rather have taken that shot than LeBron James just over the course of his career. I have, if I'm a Laker fan, I have 0% problem with that shot.
Yeah, I totally agree. He was wide open, and he's been an elite 3-point shooter this year. And I think, was the game tied at that point?
I think it was tied at 99.
Yeah, 99-99.
Yeah, it was tied. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess drain more clock, but you gotta that probably the best look you're gonna get. You gotta take that shot when you have it.
And if he kind of dribbles that out and works the ball around again, he's getting criticized for not taking that shot.
Yeah,
and that's
Skip Bayless is screaming.
100%. Yeah. No, but it's actually funny because and I know this is a different scenario just because it's the end of the game and everything, but I was actually listening to episode, I want to say I think it was episode 2 of the LeBron and JJ Redick podcast today. It was aired a couple weeks ago, but I just remember they were talking about the 2-for-1 situation where do you want to take a shot with 30 seconds left, which I know was less than 30 seconds left, or do you want to find the best, drain the clock and then find the best shot possible? They found the best shot possible, and I think that I don't know if there are two smarter guys in the media to talk about certain situations like that than LeBron James and JJ Redick. So yeah, I think we all mentioned that we don't really think that there is that there are many worlds where where the Lakers come back from the series. Yeah, as we mentioned, the Nuggets have been awesome. The Lakers haven't, and both teams are just going to have to do a complete 180 on how they play this year in order for that to happen. Cool. All right, so that was the first awesome game. We'll talk about the second awesome game now. That was the Sixers versus the Knicks. Which, by the way, actually, it's actually two great games that they played. Yeah, the first game was very good. The second game was absolutely awesome. But yeah, kind of similar to the Lakers, and even LeBron brought up the thing. It was a very close game, but however, there were a ton of controversial foul calls in the end of the game. The last 2-minute report came out, and it was absolutely brutal. If I were a Sixer fan, I'd want to just rip my head out. So. John, do you have any takeaways from either of those games?
Yeah, I think there are kind of two ways you can look at both of these games. If you're a Sixer fan, you can say, okay, we took the Knicks down to the last couple seconds yesterday, but last couple minutes on both of these games on the road, in the Garden. I think that's a positive way of looking at it if you're a Sixer fan. And like we mentioned, series doesn't start until you lose at home. And they were seconds away from tying this series up 1-1 and feeling pretty good going back to Philly. But the other way you look at it is if you're a Knicks fan, we're up 2-0 on this Sixer team with Jalen Brunson being an absolute non-factor. He's been, to say he's been struggling shooting from the field would be an understatement. They've gotten a ton of help from their role players. Dante DiVincenzo has been playing great. Isaiah Hartenstein's been awesome, especially on the boards. I don't know. I mean, like I know Embiid's hurt, but I see, that last possession, especially when Hartenstein gets that rebound, kicks it out to DiVincenzo for that second 3-point attempt that, eventually won the game. How is nobody blocking him out? It's crazy to me. But kudos to Hartenstein. He's been great for a majority of this season and been great in these two games, just playing the role he intends to. I think it'd be tough to say the Knicks have this one wrapped up just because Philly hasn't had a game at home yet. But they should be feeling pretty good being up 2-0 with Jalen Brunson playing the way he's been playing. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Game 3 is going to decide this series on how it's going to kind of progress. But obviously, didn't mention it, but Embiid is definitely playing hurt. He has been playing well, honestly. Not very efficient, but you can't really question what he's 35-11 last night or something like that. He is playing hurt, but I think he's been giving all he has, and Tyrese Maxey has been playing great too. But I'll kick it to Matt if I missed anything.
Yeah, you kind of hit every point that I was going to make. Embiid's definitely playing hurt, but he's very, very hurt. But even when he's off the floor, the Sixers are horrible. So he has to play for them to even have a slight shot at winning this. You said a series you're not in trouble until you lose at home, but I think it's kind of similar in a way to the Nuggets Lakers series with the way the Sixers lost. It's kind of just heartbreaking. Really could take the wind out of your sails if you lose a game like that. Especially with Jalen Brunson putting up two absolute stinkers. Josh Hart and Isaiah Hartenstein were I think the two best players last night. Josh Hart had 15 rebounds yesterday as a 6'4", 6'5" guard. That's super impressive. He's been the best Knicks player. Obviously, Deuce McBride. They got him for I think $2 or $3 million for the next couple of years. That's a great contract for the Knicks. He's a very, very good player. But you mentioned Tyrese Maxey. He's been the best player in the series. He's averaging 34, 7, and 5.5. He's been the best player by a mile this series. He still has yet to break a sweat on the floor.
That's right.
I mentioned that to every person watching last night. He plays for 40 minutes a game and doesn't sweat. It's insane. But you in the agenda, Chris, you said causes for concern with Brunson or Embiid. I'm not concerned with Brunson. These are the two worst games I've seen him play all year. I've watched a ton of Knicks games this year. Every Knicks game is on in the apartment with my Knicks fans' roommates. He will figure it out. He'll be fine. I am concerned for Embiid. Every time he jumped, I felt like the room would hold their breath. We thought he would just stay on the ground. He can't blink or see. I don't know what that is, but that's crazy. But yeah, does this mean the Knicks are a super team because Brunson has been bailed out by his role players for 2 straight games? Because that's what the narrative is with Tatum.
First team All NBA him.
Celtics are a super team, but yeah, I'm not worried about Brunson at all. He's just definitely going to figure it out. He'll have a good game 3, definitely.
I would like to add one thing. I know we're Celtics fans and we like clowning the Sixers sometimes, including Embiid. I would like to give props to Embiid these past couple games. He's obviously on like one leg. He's, you saw with the eye thing. He's drugged up. He's on all these painkillers, and he's still this is probably his best playoff series that he's had.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it leads to an 0-2 deficit, but you have to give him props. He's been kind of a warrior out there, so kudos to him.
You mentioned it that his like numbers efficiency wise isn't that great, but just watching the game, he's like the true difference maker. I mean, obviously the reigning MVP is the true difference maker for the Sixers, but again, like you mentioned, the rebound last night with Hartenstein grabbing the board, and somebody's got to block him out, and it should be your 7'2", 280-pound center. Like he should be the one that's getting the rebound there and icing that game before Dante hit that 3. But yeah, I'm definitely concerned for Embiid's health and his play in the next couple games.
One last thing to note is Tobias Harris. I understand why the entire city of Philadelphia hates him.
He stinks.
Just like stats aside, like I think it was Deuce McBride driving on a kind of a fast break layup. He had Embiid and Harris on his side, and obviously Embiid's not going to go like balls to the wall to contest that because he's obviously hobbled. But like Tobias Harris is jogging, and luckily enough, Deuce McBride smoked the layup. But like if you're Tobias Harris and you have been struggling big time offensively, you need to contest that shot. You need to make plays on the defensive end. You need to make hustle plays. And it just seems like he's checked out. Like you were the third best player on this team. You have to, like, Kyle Lowry's outplaying you. Like I don't know.
Yeah, the course of Kyle Lowry.
I just hate him.
The course of Kyle Lowry has been pretty solid.
He has been, yeah. Yeah, like, and I'm someone who I'm someone who, when the Sixers traded for Lowry, I kind of just like scoffed it. I was like, okay, he's not going to do anything, which I still really don't believe in him that much. But because he played great game 1, not so much game 2. But yeah, I've been a massive supporter of Tobias Harris. I'm pretty sure that had him either 58th or 59th on the list coming into the year. He hasn't been a top 100 player this year by any stretch of the means. And I'm not going to mention his contract simply because I think that's a little silly to bring up, just because if a player isn't really living up to their contracts, who really does, honestly? But yeah, and we're not going to dive deep into free agency yet because that's, I don't really like doing that until after the offseason. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what the Sixers decide to do with Harris, or if Tobias wants to come back, because I still believe in him. I still think that he can contribute on a solid team, but he just certainly has not been doing that this year. Yeah, but as we mentioned, he had 10 points last night. Embiid and Maxey scored 69 of the 101 points. So that's absolutely insane.
If I can add one more thing, Chris.
Go ahead, 100%.
You just said they combined for 69 points. I don't know how many times they're going to combine for 70 again in this series. Like, I really do not think me personally, my opinion, I really do not think the Sixers will win the series. I think after a loss like that last night, when your 2 stars did play well, it's just really, really deflating. So I think this is the Knicks series. Obviously, this is the Knicks series to lose. They're up 2-0, but I think they should put this away in 5 or 6.
And one more thing before I put this away. We don't really have an audience for Sixers fans. It's mostly just Celtics and Knicks fans. But however, if there are any Sixers fans watching and want to get pissed off here, I'm going to read this out to you. The last 2-minute report included OG Anunoby should have been called for defensive 3 seconds. Embiid should have been called for a foul on Dante DiVincenzo. That doesn't really affect them that much. But Brunson and Hart were both knocked out for fouls on Maxey. That's the big one. And Nick Nurse should have been granted a timeout, which I think that's a little iffy simply because that happens. But I don't know why the NBA does the last 2-minute report if they're not going to hold their refs accountable, because I feel like the only thing it does, it just pisses off fans and players. That's the only thing it brings to the table. It doesn't bring forward accountability for refs because they're just gonna continue to do their jobs. I know that Adam Silver said they do it behind closed doors, like they kind of just like don't put them in big games. Which I kind of understand that you don't want to hold refs to account, like you don't want to bash them too hard because they don't really get rewarded for being good at their jobs like the players do. But we have a reffing problem for sure, and I know it's a hard job. I've never reffed, John and Matt have, but they got to be better. They're getting paid a lot of money to do this, and I don't know the solution, but there needs to be some improvement. I don't know if it's the refs themselves, I don't know if it's the system, but there needs to be some improvement there.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. You go ahead, Matt.
I mean, I'm saying like the players get obviously paid way more, but refs get paid a good amount. Players are getting fined for saying stuff, and they're like poor performance. I think the refs should either be fined or have to face the media like the players do. There should be at least some accountability or something to change this reffing problem.
I mean, I just looked it up. The average ref salary for entry level is $250,000 a year.
I know it's that much. Wow.
The veterans make over $500,000 a year, and you're thinking they're going to get paid even more for playoff games.
Right.
And I'm glad you brought it up, Chris, because I don't know how I forgot to say it, but the Sixers did get hosed last night to an extent, right? I mean, you talk about these are game-deciding calls. Granted, the Sixers did miss a couple free throws in the fourth quarter that if you make those free throws, those calls don't really matter. So it goes hand in hand with you can't really blame a loss on the refs, but you can say we kind of got hosed here and here a little bit. But yeah, that I think we've been talking about it for a while. There's zero accountability with these refs. They get paid a ton of money. It is a really, really, really hard job. But I mean, we talked about it earlier. They can't even get the video replay right some of the times. It's like how you have probably like 10 refs if you include the people in New York doing the video replay. I think they call it in New York. Yep. How do 10 professionals, and I know 10 isn't really the exact number, but how do a bunch of professionals that this is their only job get that incorrect? It's very frustrating as, passionate fans like us. You demand excellence from the players. The same should be demanded from the officials.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, you said host to an extent. I'm gonna bring up that, and I'm gonna credit Joe Dells from the Pick Aside podcast. He was on our show. Great guy, Celtics fan. He tweeted out, "Up 5, 47 seconds left, and you lose. Blame the refs all you want. That can't happen." So right. You can only blame the refs so much there. But
I don't know why they rushed so much to inbound the ball. They had
exactly.
Just take the time taking the ball out and then take the time out.
Yeah,
and they also had a shot to win it again. Like Dante DiVincenzo hit a 3 with 13 seconds to go, and they had a pretty good look at it. But Hartenstein, he's going to get so much money this offseason. I forgot to include that. He had a massive block on Maxey. Like it's not like the game ended as DiVincenzo hit the 3, and then there was like the controversial inbound. Like they still had a shot.
Yeah, 100% agreed with all that. But we'll move on to the next series, the one like the last series that played their game 2 already. So that was the Cavs versus the Magic. And just so you know, we have like in our house we have a TV, we have a couple of TVs, and then like and the game was playing at the same time. I think it's very obvious that I was watching the next game on the TV and I was watching the Cavs Magic game on my iPad. So there's like that just shows you that I was clearly prioritizing one game because the Cavs Magic I'm going to sound like a casual here, but every single person is agreeing with me. It's not really a fun series to watch because I'm someone who loves defense. Like when I'm evaluating my players, I do tend to prioritize defense a little more because it's really what separates a lot of players. But we have seen no offense really. I feel like the only and I mentioned this in my prediction that I thought the Cavs would win this series because there's only one shot creator throughout the entire series, and that's Donovan Mitchell, and he played awesome in game 1. So not really much to say for me here. I don't know if the Cavs are going to sweep the series. I don't think they will. Actually, I honestly think the Magic might win either game 3 or 4. But Matt, do you have any takeaways for those games?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Like you said, I haven't been paying as much attention to this series as I have with other series. I have a couple notes. Paolo has 15 turnovers in 2 games. I think shooting like 48 or 49% from the field. So like shooting wise, he's not doing poorly, but 15 turnovers in 2 games. I think he had 9 in the first game. That's definitely something to note. We said it for the first 2 series. It's not over until you lose at home. I think they're a young team. Maybe their home crowd could fuel them. Maybe they'll win both. But they're very young. Not a lot of shot creators, like you said, Chris. Franz Wagner had a stinker last night. He shot 5 of 17. As a team, the Magic shot 36% from the field. And former guest on the pod, Matt McCann, mentioned this. It's not like there was like crazy defense on those shots too. Like they were daring them to shoot open looks, and the Magic were just missing. So obviously it's a make or miss league. It's not like the Cavs really shot the lights out either. I think they shot like 41% from the field. But I think the experience that the Cavs have, even though it's not a ton, but Donovan Mitchell's been to the playoffs, I think, was it 4 or 5 times by now at this point, maybe even more. I think the experience.
I'm pretty sure he's been every year, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, same as Tatum. Yeah.
So that experience. Also, they were together last year in the playoffs. I think that will push them over the edge of this series. I don't think either team is great per se. I think this is totally a 4 and 5 matchup. I think a healthy Sixers team is better than both the Cavs and Magic. But I think the Cavs win this series. Maybe in 6, maybe in 5. I really got to see the Magic put a full game together, have both their stars play well.
Yeah, I think you touched on it, Matt. I think there's a difference between good defense being played and bad offense being played. I think that right now there just hasn't been a good level of offense being played on either side. And we're all big Paolo fans, and I think he is part of the future of the NBA. I think he's going to be one of the top players down the line, and this is his first playoff run, right? I do need to see more from him, just if we're being, constructive criticism. A lot of turnovers, as you referenced, Matt, not putting up a ton of points per game, not really facilitating very well. That does kind of relate to your point on missing wide open looks. I don't want to disrespect either team here, because there is a chance if the Celtics beat the Miami Heat, they will face one of these teams. I haven't been impressed so far through the first 2 games. I haven't watched every minute of the first 2 games, to be honest. But just overall, it's been, let's just say there's a reason why this has been the least talked about series. It just hasn't been exciting. And I know we're all defensive guys. We all love defense. But I do think that I think I picked the Magic to win this game. And again, they've lost 2 on the road. But they've had some pretty tough 2 games. And at the end of the day, Donovan Mitchell is the best player on the court when it comes down to it. So I think that while I did pick the Magic, the Cavs have kind of shown that they are the better team of these 2 so far.
Yeah, not a single team has won on the road yet, so that's pretty crazy to think about. Everything you guys said is true there. I don't really think there's much to add on, but yeah, both the Cavs and the Magic the past 2 years have given the Celtics some problems. So you definitely don't want to. A lot of people are saying, oh, the Celtics playing the Heat, and if they win, they're gonna be rewarded by playing the trash Magic, Cavs or Magic. And I don't know if either of them can beat the Celtics, but however, you definitely don't want to disrespect them at all either. You got to respect all your teammates, all your matchups, and we'll talk about the Celtics later. We're done talking about the teams that had played all their game 2s. So now we're going to talk about some of the teams that will be playing tonight, their game 2s. So the first game tonight will be the Suns versus the Wolves. And so the Wolves are up 1-0. Anthony Edwards went absolutely off. The Wolves won big time. Kevin Durant had a great game 1. However, no one else really stepped up. So John and I didn't watch the game because we were on the road. But I was wondering if you had any takeaways from that game at all.
Yeah, like you said, we didn't get to watch the game live. Just watch some highlights and casual box score watched. But I will say, I think this series, even though the Timberwolves did come out on top, I think this series is going to go 6 or 7. I think that I think we mentioned it last week on the podcast that this has the potential to be one of the best matchups in the first round or just in the playoffs overall. And Edwards, like you mentioned, had an awesome game. Kevin Durant played really well as well. I think if the Suns get a little more, or at least something from Devin Booker and Bradley Beal, I think I was looking at it earlier. Bradley Beal actually ended the regular season on a pretty high note. He was playing pretty good basketball. So hopefully, Game 1 was just kind of a rusty period, but if you get more from Devin Booker, more from Bradley Beal, I think that they have the opportunity to make this series a much better one, at least better than what we saw in Game 1. And we all do like Ant Edwards. He's a young, fun player. He plays both sides of the ball. He was talking a little trash to KD. I'm wondering if tonight maybe we see Kevin Durant humble him a little bit. I think it'd be pretty cool to see that go back and forth. I think Ant Edwards mentioned in his post-game press conference he was his favorite player growing up. So it would be cool to see KD kind of answer that and, show us a little bit what we grew up watching. What makes KD great is his playoff performances.
Yeah, I had a couple similar notes there, John. Anthony Edwards is so awesome to watch. He's so fun. He's so exciting. He's one of my favorite non-Celtics. Obviously, he had a great game. He had 33, 9, and 6 I'm looking at right now, and he shot almost 60% from the field. He shot 50% from 3. But you said this might be this will probably be a good series, which I agree to an extent. I still have the Wolves in 6. I just think the Suns have way too many holes. Their defense looked really, really bad at points. There's a narrative that Devin Booker is this elite two-way guy, yet Anthony Edwards is going off and he's standing in the quarter guarding Jaden McDaniels, which I get. There's like defensive schemes and stuff like that, but at a point you gotta step up and guard the best player. He looked very lazy at points on the ball. I know I'm kind of going in on him now, but he really did not have a good game. What did he shoot, 5 of 16 or something? But Kevin Durant and Grayson Allen are really the only two notable good defenders on that team. I think Royce O'Neal is a fine defender, but I don't know how much of an effect Royce O'Neal is gonna have in this series. But yeah, the Suns need to find an answer for Anthony Edwards. You said Kevin Durant's still very, very good at basketball. I think he's awesome still. I want to shout out Naz Reid, Jersey legend. He was plus 22 in 19 minutes. I know it's a flawed stat, but plus 22 is definitely something to note. He's awesome to watch. Chris's guy, Rudy Gobert. I saw Pete Foreman was freaking out. I thought he threw a tantrum watching this game, but Rudy Gobert, very, very great game. Box score stuffer and set some elite screens to get Anthony Edwards open. I think that's impressive.
Yeah, he did.
And one more note, I know I kind of already talked about Booker's defense, but Bradley Beal, he did end the season on a high note. You are right, John, but his defense was bad in Washington. It is even worse now. He is a real traffic cone. And one more thing about Devin Booker is he has a lot of these playoff stinkers. I know everybody has playoff stinkers, but I feel like he has a ton of them for a guy that's in top 10 conversations in the league. He really has to show me something this series if he still wants to be in that conversation. I know it's only game 1, but he really looked bad last game.
Can we just address the one tweets? And we'll talk about the Mavs later, but it was a picture of Luka and Booker at their benches looking pissed, saying, I forgot what it was, but it was like, get these guys some help. Booker is not the best player on his team, which people try to argue that Booker is better than Durant. He's not even close.
No.
And it was just the dumbest thing I've ever seen, because Durant's the top, I have him 13th all time. He's at worst top 15 probably. Maybe some people have him a little bit lower. I don't think that's true at all though. But yeah, he's gonna need to step up. I can see them pushing to this this to 6, but however, they got blown out. If it's a close game, I think they'll lose that one too. They're the worst fourth quarter team in the league. So, yeah, I don't necessarily see. I see a world where Kevin Durant outplays Anthony Edwards, but yeah, I'm gonna, you know what, I'm gonna backtrack and continue to bash Devin Booker actually because I feel like it. But I know that McAfee today, McAfee and Austin Rivers were talking today. I rarely watched the show, but it was just on today. They were talking about how Ant versus Booker is kind of they're like in contention for the best shooting guard in the league matchup. Like shooting guard is kind of one of the weaker positions, but Ant's winning the matchup now, so we'll see. Yeah, we'll see if it happens now. But yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen. But yeah, thank you for bringing up my guy Rudy Gobert. 14 and 16 on the Knights. Anchoring the best defense in the league. So we'll see if he continues that. I think he will. But yeah, only time will tell.
It's a Nas Reed fan podcast, by the way. Future Celtics, just throwing
I like that.
Future Celtics, I agree.
Jersey legend, love that guy.
I feel like we never talk about him, but yeah, I'll hop on that bandwagon for sure. And I know a lot of people were saying that he's a better fit with Gobert than Kat, which is fine. I'm fine with that. I'm a big fan of Kat too. But however, if ideal scenario would be them, ideal scenario would be them trading Kat and then Kat succeeding elsewhere, which I think is a high possibility. Cool. Next, we were talking about the Mavs and the Clippers. They're not playing they're playing tonight. The Clippers won game 1. I'm shocked at that. So, the Clippers won game. Yeah, James Harden went off. Paul George had a pretty good game too. Luka had probably the worst first half that I've seen him play. Definitely his worst half of the playoffs that I've seen him play in a long time, and probably the worst game of his season as well. So, John and I watched that full game at an Irish pub. But Matt, it was the most Irish bar I've ever been to, by the way. And Matt, I was wondering if you have any takeaways from that.
Obviously James Harden had a terrific game. Paul George had 11 of his 21 in the fourth quarter. James Harden is not fooling me. I've seen him have good playoff games before, but the majority of them are going to be stinkers. He will let the Clippers down eventually. He is not fooling me. I'm not. However, I want to talk about, you brought up Luka's first half. He shot 4-13, 1 of 7 from 3. He did have a better second half, but he still, he put up pretty numbers, but he still did not. It seemed like he did not have a good game. He's an absolute negative on defense. I saw a video on Twitter. I actually didn't catch this when I was watching the game. He forced a pass to Maxi Kleber, and then Kleber dropped it and went out of bounds. And Luka was literally jumping like a 4-year-old, and it looked like he was crying a little bit. He was 7 of 20 at the time, and he's blaming his teammates. That is not a guy I would like to play for. I'm shocked the team with Kyrie Irving in the playoffs is fighting. Usually he's a great locker room guy. This is definitely not the first time this has happened. I had the Mavs winning this series. I don't know if I still do. I don't know. Do you know when Kawhi's coming back, Chris?
It's day to day.
Is he day to day?
I'm pretty sure that Skip Bayless reported that he is coming back tonight, which is really funny because Skip Bayless used to bash Kawhi all the time, but I'm pretty sure him and his uncle are pretty good friends now. So he said probably tonight, but if not, then definitely game 2. I hope he's back tonight though.
Okay, yeah, I'm saying I was going to say if Kawhi doesn't come back, the series was obviously he's coming back now. The Clippers are in deep trouble. I don't think they would win another game or 2 without Kawhi, but obviously he's back. I'm going to change my pick to the Clippers. I think this will be still a fun series. I think the Clippers will win in 7. But, my takeaways is that James Harden had a great game. He will let the Clippers down. And Luka had a stinker, even though his stats look good, which I'm shocked.
Yeah, so like Chris mentioned, we watched this game in the Irish pub of Irish pubs after a few Bud Lights. But that being said, I think the couple things to note from that game was that James Harden kind of went nuclear, especially in that first quarter. I picked the Clippers to win this series, so I was rooting for them. Let's go Clippers. I think that, Luka had an awful first half, but, he finished with 33 and 13. So kudos, man. You got your double-double, and you lost by 12. Congrats. I think that a team with Kyrie and Luka, Kyrie actually played a really good game. I'll give him that credit. Obviously going to be a traffic cone on defense, but I think that the Clippers winning this game, granted at home, but without Kawhi, is extremely impressive. I think that kind of sets a tone for the rest of the series. Do I think James Harden will play like this the rest of the way? Absolutely not. But I do think that maybe if James Harden kind of slumps a little bit in remaining games, Kawhi kind of picks up the slack. I'm interested to see when Kawhi comes back, who he guards, whether they're going to put him on Luka or Kyrie. I think both matchups kind of make sense. But I think, especially with me and Matt on this podcast, we won't miss an opportunity to kind of clown Luka for a poor efficiency night because, that's just the way it goes.
But he had 30 and he got a double-double, John. Come on.
Congrats. Kudos. Yeah.
That's what you play for. You play to score 30.
Despite the loss, man.
Yeah.
But I think that it's going to be a good series. I think it'll go 6 or 7. And hey, maybe Luka will show up tonight and drop a triple-double and shut us up. But it's fun to at least talk about this now.
Jalen Brunson, Devin Booker, and Luka Doncic all played worse than Jason Tatum did. And Tatum has gotten hands down the most slander. Again, we're not talking about this. I'll talk about this later, but that's when you know. That's when you know. That's all I'm going to say. So, but yeah, to add on to the James Harden thing, Aaron Schroeder, aka Possible Chairs from TikTok, I've been on their show on Hoops Temple Pod before. They're going to come on eventually too. But he has a pretty cool, not pretty cool. He had like a graphic of James Harden and his game scales. Game scale is kind of like it's kind of like you bring the stats out there. It's kind of similar to PER. His numbers like dip from game 1 all the way down to like game set. Okay, I forgot what it was. Maybe it's like game 1 to like game 3 or 4 it goes up, but then once you get down to like game 5, 6, 7, it goes all the way down. So that just shows you. And people are going to argue that like all the games are just as important. No, they're not. Because like once you get to game 5, 6, and 7, that's when the stakes are the highest. And I know people are going to argue back by saying but those would close out. Teams don't sweep. Very rarely do sweeps happen unless the matchups like this. When push comes to shove, what matters most is what happens in games 5, 6, and 7. So yeah. But yeah, you guys nailed everything else on the head. Looking forward to Kawhi coming back. I don't think they're going to put him on Luka or Kyrie at least in the first couple, at least for the whole game. Maybe they put him on them towards the end of games, but yeah, I definitely think they should ease him back in, even though it's the playoffs. But you don't want to have a Kevin Durant situation which I know it's a different injury, but you don't want him to tear his ACL or anything. So, so we got, what is that? Oh yeah, we took care of the Suns, the Wolves, we took care of the Mavs and the Clippers. So now we'll talk about the Bucks and the Pacers. This is hands down the hardest series to predict. All of us were kind of on the train of, or I don't know if all of us were actually, now that I think about it, but of the Bucks are kind of hopeless without Giannis, given the fact that how abysmal their defense has been with him. That being said, Dame put together hands down his best game of the season, probably the best game of the past 2 years. He obviously hasn't been in the playoffs the past 2 years, so we don't really have anything to base off that besides I think it was 2021 we had that great series against the Nuggets. Does he have another great game tonight? Who knows? I don't know if he can duplicate that, but I do know I saw someone else say that if the Bucks go up 2-0, Giannis probably won't come back for game 3. But yeah, I would consider tonight a must win for the Bucks, despite being up 1-0. But John, you have any opinions to add on that?
Yeah, I think what we saw in game 1 was pretty interesting because I think we went in assuming that it would be a really close, really dogfight of a game. And then I know we've kind of clowned Damian Lillard a couple times on this podcast, but he had an excellent game. You have to give credit where it's due. Awesome first half, obviously. And I think what we saw was that he exploited the problem with the Pacers that we've discussed all year. Their defense is horrendous. I mean, it's It's bad. And if you're going to get a game from Tyrese Halliburton where he's dropping a triple single, you got no shot. I mean, even when you're going against the Bucks without Giannis, all it takes is a guy like Damian Lillard to have that kind of first half, and then you're playing from behind, and it's nearly impossible. I think that if Giannis remains out, I think this can be a series because I don't think Damian Lillard is going to have the game or the first half or whatever you want to call it like he did this time around. But I think, like I mentioned earlier, the defense of the Pacers is their kryptonite. It's what's going to hold them back. It's what's going to prevent them from winning the series and kind of missing on an excellent opportunity to make it to the next round. I mean, I think we would both, or the three of us would all have, if it was a Pacers versus Knicks or Pacers versus Sixers, we'd probably take the Knicks or the Sixers. But you have an opportunity to make it to the next round with a pretty young core, given, I know, Tyrese Halliburton isn't the core, but I think they're kind of fumbling an opportunity here to kind of win a big playoff series that could kind of maybe give them momentum for the next year. I had the Bucks winning this series. I still do. It's kind of up in the air depending on what happens with Giannis. I think this will be a good series, but I was proven wrong on Sunday night because the Bucks, they handled business.
Yeah, like you said, John, the Bucks handled business. Dame did have a very good game. Very good first half. 35 points. He ended up shooting 11-24, so it was efficient too. Plus minus is flawed, but he was -6, which I thought was crazy in a game where his team won by 15. Yeah, he did have 0 points in the second half. I will mention that. But Tyrese Halliburton is like in these like top blank fill in the blank point guard in the league, top 3 point guard in the East, and he's only taken 7 shots. That feels like unacceptable. I don't know if that's coaching or if he's hurt or if that's just him being too passive, but he has to be more aggressive. He has to take more shots if he wants to be in these combos. Pascal Siakam was awesome this game.
Yeah.
He's a very good player. I feel like him going to the Pacers was talked about a little bit, but not like crazy, not really talked about that much. He was by far the best player on the Pacers, obviously, that game. Rick Carlisle said about his own team, about the Pacers, that dating a pretty girl gets boring if she doesn't play any defense, and she does not play any defense. The Pacers' defense is horrible, very, very bad. But like you said, John, the Bucks without Giannis being the 3 seed, they really just came in and took care of business. I know we do hate Patrick Beverley here. I think this is the only positive thing I'll say about him. He only took like 5 shots. He shot like 2 of 5 or something, but he did have a very good game. I think he had 8 assists and 7 rebounds. He was a big spark plug. I think he started because Giannis was out, but he was a big reason that they won. But is tonight a must win for Indiana? I would probably say so. If Giannis plans to come back, game 4 or 5, I believe. I think they have to steal one in Milwaukee if they want to win this series without Giannis. I think they do have to steal one tonight.
Well, let me ask you guys a question that I've been wondering. If the Bucks win in say 4 or 5 and Giannis doesn't come back, he kind of just rests, he sees that they're up 3-0, 3-1. Does that give them momentum going into a potential Knicks series, or let's say potential Knicks series? I think
we've talked about this. We talked about this behind the scenes, but I'm pretty sure that I was telling you guys before Giannis got injured that I'm still taking the Bucks over the Knicks in a playoff series, which is an unpopular opinion, but I trust Giannis and Dame far more than I trust Jalen Brunson and whoever their second best player is at this point. I guess you could say it's OG, which I know it's more than just the top 2 players, but in a close game, I think you're lying to yourself if you're saying that you take Brunson and OG over Giannis and Dame. So, that's my takeaway. Yeah, as long as if they have momentum, I'm taking the Bucks over the Knicks. But again, that's a big if because Giannis does have to get healthy.
I'm still taking the Knicks in that series, but I do get what you guys are saying. I think that totally gives the role players that have struggled since Doc has been hired with the Bucks. I think that totally gives them the confidence, and confidence for role players is just so massive in the playoffs. I think this win definitely gives them a ton of confidence that could push them into next round. But I would still take the Knicks or the Sixers over the Bucks.
I mean, and going off that, let's say if the Bucks take care of business in 5 and the Knicks win in 6 or 7, this is a lot of what ifs, but that gives Giannis a lot more time to rest up, get a little more healthy, come back ready for game 1 and round 2. Again, this is a lot of speculation given that we've played 2 and 1 games, and the Knicks could very well sweep and the Bucks could very well go to 6 or 7. But I think it'll be interesting to see how both series progress and kind of see where momentum kind of tilts going into game 1 of round 2.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely going to be very interesting. I usually do my plugs at the end, but I'm gonna plug right now. I'll be on playback tonight, actually watching the Bucks Pacers game, so you'll see my reaction to the game going on. So I'm really looking forward to that. It'll be under Chilltown's channel as well. Yeah, but we got two more series to talk about before we go on to the players. So yeah, we're just going to touch on OKC Pelicans pretty quickly. OKC beats the Pelicans in a very, very close game. SGA SGA wasn't really playing that great for the beginning, but then he came down was awesome down the clutch. As far as it goes for the Pelicans, they're obviously without Zion, and Brandon Ingram, who's supposed to be their second star, hasn't really stepped up in the past few weeks as well. John, do you have any takeaways from that series?
Yeah, I think what you're seeing from the Thunder is a very young, inexperienced playoff team, and what we have, thought was going to be what they would be in the playoffs. The Thunder should recognize that they're playing a lesser Pelicans team, especially lesser without Zion. You just got to take care of business. You have to thank the basketball gods, take care of business against this team that was lesser than you and without their superstar, and move on. I think they were kind of playing with their food a little bit towards the later parts of that game. Like you mentioned, Chris, SGA started off pretty slow. He kind of ramped it up a little bit towards the end. I obviously have the Thunder winning this series. But that's pretty much all I have to say on that. I think that this is kind of a series that has flown under the radar just because it's the Thunder, who have been very promising and good, versus a Pelicans team that somewhat snuck in, but also is missing their star player. So everyone kind of just assumes the Thunder will take care of business, and I think they just have to.
Yeah, John, I totally agree. I think both teams could come away with some positives. Pelicans, their best player wasn't playing. Their second best player shot 5 of 17, and TJ McCollum, the veteran, and third best player shot 9 of 22, and they only lost by 2. And the Thunder, obviously, positive is they won, but experience obviously is massive in the playoffs, experience and confidence. I think winning a close playoff game gives the young guys an insane amount of confidence. And their stars played well. SGA played a very, very good game. You guys commented. You guys said they stepped it up at the end. Jalen Williams is awesome. I know Chris has been a critic of Jalen Williams at points when he has been overrated at points this year, but he's still a very, very good player. Chet in his first playoff game ever, I think what he put up 15 and 11. Very impressive. I still would have the Thunder winning this series, even if Zion comes back. But I do think the Pelicans can make a push, make it a 7-game series if Zion does come back.
Can I ask what happened to Josh Giddey?
On the court or off the court?
We'll leave the off the court stuff for off this podcast, but I meant on the court.
Yeah, I feel like he just hasn't made the next step. Like, I feel like he put maybe even worse numbers up this year than last year. I can't really tell, but they were very similar. He seemed to have like a ton of promise, but he's been kind of mid to below mid this year, and he had a stinker last game, the game 1.
2 points.
Yeah, 1 of 6 shooting.
I don't mean to be box score watching, but like, how much can you really spin a 2-point game?
Yeah, you can't. It was
I only
bad.
played 20 minutes, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, it'll be interesting the next couple of days. I don't. Yeah, at the end, yeah, I think the X factor is going to be Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram, who used to be in Jason Tatum talks, by the way. You can tell how heated I am about how Jason Tatum has been talked about the past couple of days. But yeah, he's going to be the guy to step up. He has to be that number 2 guy. When your star gets injured, it's not the role players that have to step up. It's your second best player that needs to really be that guy to step up. But yeah, yeah. So now we'll move on. We're going to save the best for last. Before we do that, this is my first time doing this. But yeah, can you guys see that?
I can't see anything.
Oh no! Oh damn it! Okay, yeah. That was supposed to be the share screen of me and John at the Celtics game, but so
Another shot.
Oh wait,
There it is.
hang on a second.
I got something.
Oh, it's there.
It's loading
Okay.
right now.
Oh, it's loading. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just see the All American Hoops logo. I don't see the
Okay.
photo.
Okay. How about you guys start talking about the Celtics? I'll see if I can figure that out. Okay.
All right.
Matt,
Actually, John, do you want to start? You went to the game, so if you want to describe the experience, the atmosphere, and stuff like that, you could go ahead.
Yeah. So me and Chris have gone to a Celtics playoff game for the past 3 years now. This is our 3rd game in TD Garden in Boston. We are 3-0, not to jinx anything for next year, but we seem to be a good luck charm. If we had a lot more money, we'd be going to more games. But me and Chris made the trip up. We went on Saturday, stayed over for 2 nights. Sunday tip-off was 1 p.m. Awesome time. The atmosphere was electric. Great. The Celtics were locked in. The fans were locked in. They opened up on a 14-0 run, but once they went on a 9-0 run, the Heat called the timeout, and the place exploded. Me and Chris had a great time. We were sitting next to some good Celtics fans.
Absolutely.
We were up in the upper deck. We were in the 300 section because everything else is thousands of dollars. I told our mom that we were in the 300 level, and she said, "Well, that's okay. At least you're not in the 500 level." And I didn't have the heart to tell her that there is no 500 level in the garden. 300 is the highest level, but we still had a pretty good view.
That's where the real fans are.
We had a great time. Celtics, I think they opened up the game the way we as fans would hope they would open up the game, with kind of a little vengeance, a little fire from the series that we don't discuss that happened last year. I thought they got off to a hot start. I think Miami kind of fought back a little bit in that first quarter. In the maybe early in the second quarter, they cut it to around 2 or 3, and the Celtics ran away with it in the second and third quarter. They got their score up to 34 points ahead. They messed around a little bit in the fourth quarter. DeLon Wright hit about 4 or 5 threes in a row. I think they got a little complacent. I'm not really going to be too upset about a game where they won by 20 points. I do think that they're going to use that fourth quarter as a little bit of a warning. Hey, we can't let this happen. We have to buckle down, make sure that we play full 48 minutes. I have seen a few Heat fans say that, imagine if we had Jimmy. Yeah, you probably would have lost by 15 if you had Jimmy. I'm not really moved or concerned about that. I think that us Celtics fans have been asking for the Heat for the past couple months now. They swept the regular season series, and I think they're going to sweep the playoff series. And I think if the Celtics play their game, they're going to move on to the second round. I'll let you guys touch on the Caleb Martin. Oh, look at that. There we are.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah. I was waiting to you on. So yeah.
Me and Chris snuck down to the 100 levels after the game to snap a picture. And we were a couple feet away from Blue Bloods legend Donnie Wahlberg, a.k.a. Danny Reagan.
Celebrity Row.
We have the Celebrity Row at TD Garden is Danny Reagan from Blue Bloods. I hope he got it home in time for Sunday dinner. Shout out to Uncle Blue for making that
No one
reference.
understands. No one who's watching the show knows what that means, by the way, but that's okay. Yeah.
Maybe we'll get Uncle Blue to watch. He'll understand. But yeah, it was a great day. We had a great time, and hopefully we see a lot more of the same stuff we saw in Game 1 and Game 2.
Yeah, John, I think you touched on some great points. I am extremely jealous of you guys. This is the third straight year that I could not make the trip up. Being at college and having, I think there's $3 in my bank account right now, limited me from going to the game. But my biggest takeaway is it was kind of already known, but the Celtics are just the better team by a mile. They, from top to bottom, they're just better. Even with Jimmy Butler, I think this is a sweep. Part of me, the petty part of me, wishes he played, but I am happy that we don't have to deal with him. You know, I don't know who else will shoot 40% and be praised for it. But the biggest message, you know, we'll touch on it a little bit. Don't play with your food. Sweep them. Win in 4. Don't get hurt, even if people are diving for your knees. We talked about causes for concern about the Celtics taking their foot off the gas pedal in the fourth. No, there's not a cause for concern, but we can say it was annoying. It was annoying to watch. But they outscored them. I think the Heat put up less than 20 points in the third quarter. So, you know, every run that the Heat went on, the Celtics had an answer for, which I think is great. I don't think the Heat pick off a couple games without Jimmy Butler. I think the Celtics are just the better team. Even with Jimmy Butler, like I said, I think this is a sweep. But the Heat are dirty. But I hope the Celtics win in 4 and without anybody getting hurt. I'm going to knock on wood.
I just want to talk about how like everyone's response to Caleb Martin being, oh, he didn't mean to hurt him. Just because you don't mean to hurt someone, that doesn't mean it wasn't a dirty play. And you can intentionally do a dirty play without trying to hurt someone. Like those are two completely different things. And you guys touched on everything. As John mentioned, it was a phenomenal environment. The beginning of the game was awesome. And people talk about, you almost blew a lead. We cut it down to 13 with what was it, like 2 minutes left. That's not almost blowing a lead. That's you guys. That's garbage time points. It's DeLon Wright stat padding. The only person I was impressed with was Bam. Bam played a really great game. He played pretty good defense on Porzingis. Really great offense on Porzingis, by the way. That's been my number one concern with Porzingis is his mismatch with Bam. Even though he does tear that zone pretty well. He does, not like the Celtics don't really have many guys that have matched up with Bam in the past besides Rob Williams, really. Not really much else to talk about. As we've been saying the entire time, I'm not gonna. You can never really count out the Heat given how annoying they are, but what we want is just to what we want. And this is gonna be my second week in a row cursing in this podcast, but no bullshit. Just like just win the series and win in 5, win in 4. If you win in 6, it's not a big deal. If you have a couple blowouts, just win. Like you're hands down the best team in the East. You're debatably the best team in the league. Although the Nuggets have been really making their case the past couple weeks. Just win. And don't worry about anything else. And one more thing. Even though it's you want to look ahead and start preparing for the Nuggets because of how great they've been. You don't want to really just forget about them. One step at a time. Win game 2, then win game 3. Then if you don't win game 3, then win game 4. Worry about what's ahead of you. And as Jaylen Brown, I think I forgot don't know what the direct quotes. Don't be afraid of what's ahead of you either. So yeah, those are all my takeaways. We are over, but however, I did want to talk about for the last minute or two, we're just going to mention 1 or 2 players of who we think are either going to break out or players that it's just players that we think are going to break out down the line.
Shall I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I have a pretty obvious one. I think Jalen Brunson is going to figure it out. I think he shot 8 of 26 and 8 of 29 in the first 2 games. He's putting up tour date numbers, but those are the 2 worst games that I've seen him play and I think all season, maybe even counting last season. And Knick fans should be happy they're up 2-0. I think Brunson will figure it out. Last playoff showed that he does step up in the playoffs. Yeah, it's really, really all I have on him. Are we doing one or two? I have another one, but I don't want to steal from John if John wants to go.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say Jamal Murray too. Obviously, he stepped up in the fourth in the clutch, but he's shooting 37.5% from the field. He's had tough couple of games in the first 2 games of the series, but it hasn't mattered because he's stepped up in the clutch in both games. But he's definitely going to shoot better, and the Nuggets are going to be scary when he eventually does shoot more efficiently.
My number one player, I think, is 96% biased. It's Jason Tatum. Yeah, he had a great 23, 10, and 10 game. I don't want to hear about his efficiency. I saw he 7 of 17, I think, from the field, but 1 of 8 from 3, which definitely impacts his field goal percentages, why his true shooting percentage is usually above league average. I think that with the addition of Kristaps Porzingis and with the way that the Celtics kind of modeled their game plan around beating that zone, there was a couple times, and I turned to Chris during the game, where Tatum caught the ball, free throw line extended about 16, 17 feet away with Jaime Jaquez on him. And, if you're not going to bring that double team, Tatum is going to take and make that mid-range shot 9 times out of 10. And I think that he's poised to have a big next couple games. I'm excited to watch it. If they kind of I think every team's defense when they play the Celtics is focused around Jason Tatum. But the thing with the Celtics is they do have a lot of guys that can exploit if you're going to double team Jason Tatum. So I think if teams start to sag away from the double on Tatum and you try to play him one-on-one, that's when he kind of takes his game to the next level. I think he's going to be able to exploit that one-on-one matchup because, as we all know, there aren't many players, if any players in the league that can guard Jason Tatum one-on-one. And then just a second player, I think Devin Booker had a pretty poor game 1 that we mentioned. I think that he's going to – we won't mention his elimination game stats, and we won't mention the fact that we get annoyed when he gets compared to Jason Tatum because I think Devin Booker is not on his level. But I do think Devin Booker is poised to have kind of a bounce-back game and finish out the series the way that he played in the regular season and has played in the past. I think he's going to have a couple of good games lined up.
Yeah, great picks. Last week was fun. Breaking news, so I'm gonna do it again. Tyrese Maxey has won the Most Improved Player of the Year award. He wasn't my pick, but good for him. Yeah, we're fans of Maxey, so yeah, great for him there. A great game last night too.
First streak of breaking live news in podcast history, back-to-back.
Right. Yeah. So maybe that'll happen again next week, but I'm sure more will happen over the offseason too. My pick. I'm gonna go Kawhi Leonard. Actually, I think he's gonna come back. Even though I said they're gonna ease him into it, but I do think that once he's healthy, once everyone's sure, okay, he's back and he's fine, he's gonna go back to being playoff Kawhi. And who knows? Maybe my prediction with Kawhi ending up being with the Clippers making the finals. I'm not counting out. I'm giving it like a 5% chance, but I think if there's any team out west that could beat them, I think it's the Clippers. I said that last week, and I still think it's the case. And my second player, John mentioned Jason Tatum. I'm going to say Jaylen Brown though. Yeah, as hungry as Tatum is still from the 22 finals, I think that Jaylen Brown's even hungrier, especially given that. And we were talking about this over text during the game. Tatum loves Bam Adebayo. Jaylen Brown hates him. Yeah. So. And I really think that Jaylen Brown has taken a lot of the stuff personally, and I think he's done it for the good. It's not like he hasn't been like a player. He hasn't been like a Russell Westbrook where when he takes things personally, he just decides to shoot every shot ever and then isn't efficient. Jaylen Brown has worked on his handle. He's taken some great he's improved his mid range. I have full faith in Jaylen Brown, and there are going to be some games where he's better than Jason Tatum. So. Yeah, that's a great way to close, is me giving some Jaylen Brown propaganda. I'll never pass up an opportunity to do that. So, John, Matt, thanks again for coming on. It's it's always a pleasure. But a couple plugs. As I mentioned earlier, I will be live tonight on Playback, covering the Bucks Pacers game. You can see my reaction to that game. Hopefully, it's a good game, so there won't be a lot of downtime. But a couple other plugs. You can follow me on all social media platforms. All American Hooper on TikTok, X, and Instagram. I forgot to put the banner up today, but also follow and subscribe to Chilton Hoops. And obviously, you guys know that we're live every Tuesday, 6 to 7. Subscribe so you can watch the other shows. So there are some awesome shows, including tomorrow night at, I believe, 8 o'clock is the Content Creators Hour by Ori B, who was on the show last week. And there's also Chilltown has his own show as well. For those of you on TikTok, it's a really great channel to be a part of if you want to subscribe and also join as well. If you want to eventually come on the show like a caller as well. And then of course also I say it every week. Subscribe to Primetime, or sorry, not subscribe. Follow Primetime Sports Talk on Twitter as well. They're always I have a great team as well. You can see my articles there. Which I kind of wish I talked about my last article. It was the top 10 players with the most to gain, but we could talk about that next week instead. So yeah, John, Matt, again, thanks so much for coming on, and everyone else, have an awesome night, and I hope you enjoyed the playoffs.